You're listening to the Unsung podcast, where we talk about classic albums and decide if they deserve that distinction. And we also talk about some unsung classics in the hopes of bringing them to a new audience. And at the end of it all, we let you decide if we were right or wrong. This is the Unsung podcast. Hi, you're listening to episode 22 of the Unsung podcast. On last week's episode, we spoke about the Venetian Snares record with the Hungarian title, which I butchered on last week's episode, and I'm not really going to do again. Sorry. The public have listened to that episode, and they have decided that, yes, indeed, that record will be making it into our discography. So Venetian Snares, Aaron Funk, we are very happy to have you represented in our discography of all-time greats. Okay, so before we move on to this week's episode, just a small reminder that in a few weeks' time we will be doing a live grunge mixtape. So get your tickets now. It's in the Flying Duck. It's at 2 p.m. It's on May the 27th, and it's only £2 to get in, so we think that's a pretty good deal. We'll be talking about all of the good grunge records, probably most, if not all of the bad ones too, and there will be a musical accompaniment, which, let me tell you, you're just not ready for this. It's going to be fun, it's going to be funny, and it's going to be a great time had by all. That's the plan, anyway. On this week's episode, we are talking about Searching for a Former Clarity by Against Me. Enjoy. Hi, welcome to the Career Podcast. That's not the wrong podcast. It's a totally wrong podcast.
Plug.
Yeah. Hi, welcome to the Unsung Podcast. I am your host, Mark Fraser, and I'm joined by a grunge fan and his best friend.
Oh, you just got a promotion, Dave.
Yeah, I know.
I was
The
talking about
grunge fan.
To my right is Chad Kroger, the king of grunge.
Oh. To my left is the Maasai chinned chode from Creed. What's his name?
Scott Stapp.
Scott Stapp.
Yeah.
His name even sounds like a chode.
I know. Scott Stapp.
You can tell we're getting psyched about the live grunge mixtape that's coming up. So we're going to keep dropping those references as often as
You
we
can
can.
still buy tickets at
Unsungpod.net.
unsungpod.net/events. So, talking about exciting things.
Yes.
What record are we doing this week?
This week we're doing Searching for a Former Clarity by Against Me, which is
Against Me.
Against Me.
It's got an exclamation on the end.
Which
We're being high energy, so.
one of my favourite records.
Is it?
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't know it was that valuable. I hope this doesn't jeopardise our friendship.
So, could you tell us more about Against Me?
Against Me.
Yeah. I just want to say that I always used to get mixed up between Against Me and Rise Against.
Yeah. That's
Because they've got the same word in
the
the
same
name.
word in the name.
I know.
That's
Not
the
really
exact
good.
same word.
You're not really good at English, are you?
It's also
Who,
got
what?
a capital A in it as well.
Yeah, that's true.
So this is Against Me's third record.
Uh-huh.
The second on Fat Wreck.
Was this on Fat Wreck?
This is on Fat Wreck. Yeah.
We're doing an album on Fat Wreck.
So this record and the one beforehand were both on Fat Wreck. Really interesting. The way this record was made, how this came about was really, it's actually really interesting. When they released their second album, The Eternal Cowboy, a lot of major labels were sniffing around. So they got offers from Sony and Virgin and Warner and Universal. to $950,000 they were offered to do that record. And
why for the sake of $50,000, why wouldn't you just go to a cool $1 million?
Make it $1 million.
Well, they
Maybe
got
tax reasons.
They got it up that high, and they basically exploited the guys, the A&Rs, basically taking a piss out of them and just basically getting them to take them to clubs and get them drunk and just spending all the money.
They death gripped it.
Account. Yeah. Cool. And then Fat Mike came in and said, here's $250,000 to stay with Fat Wreck, and they went, okay, cool, and he did it.
That's not how I heard it, and I'm sure you know better than me, but I heard that they were already contractually obliged to release one more record on Fat Wreck, and then they bailed the fuck out in Fat Wreck and went to Sire Records, which was a subsidiary of Warner.
That is incorrect.
I'm not surprised that's your reaction.
But this is the way this was made was really interesting. So Laura had been for the past few years like dealing quite badly with alcohol and drug dependency issues, and she was going through a divorce the tip before this record was written.
So at the time, Laura Jane Grace was Thomas James Gable.
Gable.
Yeah,
but you don't bring that up.
Okay.
The dead name.
No, I absolutely acknowledge that. I'm just, for the purposes of things like sleeve notes and such like.
Yeah, all the references online, isn't it? If you go on Wikipedia, it's all been changed to Laura Jane Grace. Which is Anyway, she had a lot of issues.
Born, by the way, 3 days after me.
Wow.
Literally. Yeah.
Holy shit.
Amazing.
What a time to be alive.
What a time to be alive.
It's a busy week.
So yeah, anyway, she had a lot of issues obviously, and she just got divorced, and then they decided that they wanted to make a proper record. Reinventing Axe to Rose, their first album, which came out in No Idea Records in 2002. That was a whole bunch of demos and stuff that had been put together, and then they recorded this record over 2 days, technically 3, but 2 days in 2001 and an extra day in 2002 at Gold Tone Studios. It was very much just in, like, fucking bash it out. They recorded the whole record in one day, and then the next day they were like, it was too fast, we should probably record it all again. So they did it all again the second day, which is pretty cool. They did a whole bunch of touring, and then they got a phone call from Fat Mike, and he was like, I've been listening to you guys, and I really like your music. And he told them exactly how many records they'd sold for that day, which they had no idea about. And he's like, so by my estimation, you guys are worth $25,000. How about you sign to Fat Wreck for $25,000? And they were like, yeah, okay, cool. And he was like, have you got a record ready to go? And they said yes, but they didn't. And then they went away and wrote Eternal Cowboy, which was recorded in Memphis, I believe. Concord Studios, something like that. That was kind of put together in quite a rushed fashion. So when it came into doing this record, Laura decided that she wanted everybody in the band to contribute to the songwriting process, which she tried very hard to facilitate. And they took some time off the road and spent some time to actually write these songs and to actually try and create a great record, as it were. They chose to record with Jay Robbins, and they wrote the songs and recorded them all within the space of 3 months, which upon reflection, by her admission, was probably not enough time to actually do it all. And the whole process around it, especially if you read her book, Autobiography of Tranny, it's really interesting because she's so full of like self-doubt, like about herself and what her band can achieve, despite the fact they've been courting major label like interest. And they'd spent a lot of time on the Eternal Cowboy tour when they were doing that and getting interest from major labels, basically being really arrogant and dickish, because it's like, well, obviously we're hot shit, you know what I mean? People want us, they want a signature, they want us to be signed to like a major label, so people keep blowing smoke up her ass and saying we're amazing. But once she put all her addictions to the side, rather, she then decided that she was going to do this record sober, which she did. So there's some songs on the album we deal with her addiction issues.
We're definitely gonna call it in early tonight. Need to dry out, take some time to clear my mind.
You get this that's kind of really reflected in a lot of the writing around that she wrote around the time in her journals and stuff as well.
See, you're talking about the kind of period of courting where the labels were kind of circling and obviously really interested. And after this album, they did leave Fat Wreck and sign to Sire.
Yeah.
And Sire had I didn't actually know a lot about Sire until I read about this, but like Sire had signed Talking Heads, the Undertones, the Ramones.
That's why they signed with them.
The label had started in '66, but then in 78 it had been bought by Warner.
Yeah.
And it ended up going on to work with Madonna,
and the
which is their biggest act, Pretenders, Depeche Mode, Smiths, Cure, Soft Cell, then Ministry, Ice-T, Seal, Underworld, big acts.
Yeah.
All under the umbrella Warner distribution, obviously, and subsidiary status. But I believe there's a DVD, We're Never Going Home.
Never Going Home, which was
2004.
recorded, during the Eternal Cowboy tour.
Yeah, and so I've not seen this, but you can probably tell us about it. Supposedly quite a bit of that deals with the major label kind of conflict and feeding frenzy that was happening at the time. What does that DVD reveal of?
Takes the piss out of them.
Of the agency and our guys and stuff.
Yeah, that's basically what it does the whole time. They do things like put dollar signs in their eyes and kind of make them look really stupid. They play pranks on them all the time and all that, and a lot of the guys stuck in. Pretty much all of them stuck in through all the bullshit they were thrown at them, and they were just using that as a way to try and drive up the offers, and then eventually they didn't take them anyway. They went back to Fat Wreck, and then they recorded Searching for Former Clarity, which is, in my opinion, their best record, and we'll get into that in a bit. But after they recorded it, Fat Mike hated it.
Yeah, I was going to say, it was definitely ironic that he'd fought for this band.
Yeah.
And then they had sort of freedom to work on an indie, and then he hated
the production, thought it sounded like shit.
Yeah.
He didn't like the
artwork.
Yeah, the artwork, all that kind of stuff. He was just not keen on it at all, and that was a huge blow for them. But then on the plus side, it was also really good because they went on tour with Green Day for 3 months, playing stadiums, opening for them, and they're playing all these huge shows. They got on Conan, We Don't Lose Touch. It was like the first ever like American late night TV performance. So a lot of big things were happening for them, and then major labels came back again. They had interest for Universal and Sire, Warner, and they kept going around that circle again. Yeah, so they hit the road really hard, and because she was sober, she says in the book that she basically spent the entire time, the whole band were like all really in it, and she just spent, which felt like the entire time, trying to outrun her dysmorphia. When the Conan O'Brien show aired, Don't Lose Touch, which she recorded, that was when like the 9 months like sobriety was like broke, because they all celebrated, and then that was it, went game over for her.
Is it true that the album is a concept album? But I couldn't really get to the bottom of what the concept of the album was.
It's a concept in as much that it's all about like the band's life and the time just beforehand. So a lot of their songs on the record deal specifically with, taking swipes at major labels and popular bands and all that. And she was really influenced by The Ugly Organ by I was going to say Converse there. The Ugly Organ by Cursive, which is like I don't know if you've heard that, but
Cursive.
Yeah, Cursive, yeah, which is like a huge kind of critique of art. Mm-hmm. Well, this kind of does quite a lot of that, but there's also some really really heavy sort of personal songs stuff, which is I think quite hard to listen to at times.
Nothing but shame and paranoia, a slightly desperate feeling to calm you to sleep.
Like I was saying, though, the major label stuck around because there's a lot of great choruses in this record. Don't Lose Touch it's got a huge chorus, and there's a lot of great songs on it, which I think hold up with the best of them. They don't play any of the songs live anymore. They play Miami. Occasionally they'll play maybe From Her. Well, recently last year they were playing From Her Lips to God's Ears.
Rushing change under a Bush doctrine, democratic installations, constant war for constant soldiers. What are we gonna do now?
It's one of the singles of the album.
Complete with Condoleezza, which is like really strange to sing now because she's not involved in government whatsoever.
Why then, given the amount of effort and time that went in, and the fact that it was so well documented on the DVD in terms of mocking and sort of leading the major labels in Merry Dance, after this album, why did they then sign to a major?
Well, see, the thing that Laura says, particularly in the book about it, is that she really wanted to be a band, and this was the first time Against Me felt like a band, because I started off as a solo project. This was the first time that she felt as though they were actually a band. They were actually spending time being a band, being on the road, touring, writing the record, and trying to be a unit. And she was really, really happy with that. And part of the process of trying to get involved with being an actual band was to get everybody else to contribute, but it didn't really pan out the way she wanted to. So she then took on the role of being like the leader, almost, as being like the primary songwriter of the record, of all their records. And after the whole Fat Mike thing, which was kind of, you mean
his disappointment with
with that, and the fact that they were on the road for so long, and they were one of the first punk shows she'd ever been to was Green Day, so she got to play with them like for 3 months, playing stadiums, which they knew they'd never play themselves. When they, for the record label started sniffing around again, she was like, well, fuck it, like I really owe it to myself to do this. Like I really want to be a great band, and I know what to do that. So it was like this, despite the fact she's a punk and an anarchist, there was also that huge side of her which was really into stuff like The Replacements, and really huge Madonna fan, and really into like really popular music. And
I find that like the
change.
I find it really difficult to get my head around, though, how somebody can be like profess such a love of crass, or especially describe themselves as an anarchist, and then sign to a major label in any fashion. I mean, I find it even without signing to a major label, to take part in, I mean, almost any of these systems is like so it conflicts so much.
I know, but you can appreciate crass and be a fan of them and take elements of.
But to self-identify as an anarchist.
Well, here's one thing which should be cleared up right now, is when they left No Idea Records and they signed to Fat Wreck, they were branded as being sellouts by a lot of their fans and a lot of anarchists, like in the scene generally.
Do you think they had a point?
Well, no, because Fat Wreck isn't a major label.
Well, I'm not saying that to be like wide. I'm asking, do you think they had a point? I mean, if you're an anarchist and a fellow anarchist signs with Fat Wreck Records and goes on tour with Green Day, do you not think they have a point?
This is before this record, so this is when they did the Eternal Cowboy, so it was right after that, and a lot of the institutions that she'd really loved and she'd grown to kind of see being like a fundamental part of her identity, then started to turn off for making that jump. There was no, like, basically one of the biggest reasons they went to Fat Wreck is because Fat Wreck approached them and they went back to No Idea Records and they asked No Idea, well, can you at least get some money for a van, because we need to actually do more touring. And No Idea were like, well, no, we can't give you any money for anything. And they were like, well, in order for us to actually be a band and do stuff, we kind of need to make this jump.
But in order to be an anarchist, you kind of also need but you need to sacrifice other things, and one of those things would be those
ego.
Well, ego, but also the machinations of whether it's major or not. Fat Wreck's pretty fucking big deal, and if you want to honour anarchy and the principles it stands for, and fucking Murray Bookchin and all these fucking ideas that lie behind it, there are sacrifices you have to make. I mean, Crass were a very, very ideologically driven band, and a band that meant a lot to people. And it's one thing to admire that, but it strikes me a bit like Green Day calling themselves punk in their current state. It's like, oh, you're so far from that. Why not just abandon that label? I'm not diminishing them as a person or as an artist. I still think like Laura Jane Grace is a very accomplished artist, absolutely. I'm just saying, why try and marry two concepts that are so apparently incompatible rather than just...
I'm trying to get to that. I have a point. So after they signed to Fat Wreck, there was an editorial in which they were obviously like very kind of had a lot of issues we want to do anyway, you know, from a fundamental point of view. There was an editorial written in Maximum Rock and Roll, which is a huge magazine, you know, for her, and basically saying that Against Me are now complete sellouts and you should do anything you can to sabotage any of their shows. And fans started doing that. So like they kick a shit out of their van, they'd ruin their merch, pour bleach over it, do you know what I mean? They would like literally rip their guitars and instruments off stage when they're playing them and stuff like that. So that led to a disillusionment of that scene, because then she started to realise, well, these people
are unwilling to
come. Yeah, totally. And she was like, well, these people I identify with, but I'm now seeing a nasty side to them, which means that are they just as full of shit as like think that I am? You know, just because they don't identify with the same ideals.
I mean, without trying
Conversely, though, right? When they started touring in Europe and they were playing all the anarchist swats around Europe as punk bands do, she was like, the anarchist vibe was completely different. They were really accepting of us, they were really accepting of our ideals, and that was much more my speed, much more the way they was. But it just seemed to be, there's a really insular element to the punk scene in Gainesville and the stuff that they were dealing with and the politics of it, that she just kind of grew very disillusioned. So she kind of moved herself away from that whole thing, you know. Yeah, maybe one beget the other, of course, but ultimately there
were personal reasons behind her disillusionment with that scene.
I think though that's kind of one of the hallmarks of left-wing politics anyway, though, and I say that as somebody who holds left-wing political beliefs, that so many of the movements that we court and so many of the ideologies that we admire often turn on us, you know, and often as life necessitates compromise, so many of those ideologies are so inherently inflexible, at least in certain areas of the communities, you know, and anarchism is one, you know. It's like, whether you like it or not, if you identify as an anarchist, which is a very, for want of a better word, radical, at least in terms of the structure and the concept, if you identify as that, to some extent you're making a rod for your own back, because you are only going to piss off other anarchists who then resent you watering down their term, because they're maybe sacrificing a lot to be what they consider anarchists, and someone else who is touring on such and such a budget to selling so many thousand records is told, you're worth £25,000 or £250,000 or whatever it is, they're like, that's not anarchism. Anarchism is repossessing an abandoned building and, fucking growing your own food and standing against political systems that don't represent people. And I think like that's kind of what I'm saying. I'm not saying I'm not taking a side. I'm trying to be devil's advocate here. I'm just saying that when that is the flag you're waving, there are certain consequences that
Yeah, but I think she stopped waving that flag because she saw the inherent inflexibility of it.
But did she stop waving that flag because that bit her on the ass, or did she?
Well, no, I think it's not. I think there's surely some sort of like personal compromise of seeing how it actually affects you personally and with your very natural ambitions, as a person. And if you just don't feel that you can commit to that lifestyle, then you're like, okay, well, I need to do what I feel comfortable with. And then if that doesn't tie up, then...
But I think this is an interesting case study or microcosm of the wider issues that face punk bands that become successful anyway, because punk fundamentally, or punk, whatever people would try and agree on a vague definition of it, is about rebelling against these bigger systems and against like big corporate interests and stuff. And so it's really fascinating to see it when it's played out like this. I am not being critical of them on a pragmatic basis. I totally get what she decided to do. I totally get that. I just think it's a really interesting discussion, and I can see the point of view of the people that were pissed off about it. I'm not saying I agree with them, but you can see where their thinking was coming from, and you have to kind of be compassionate in that sense and be like, well, they're giving up a lot to live that. It's just an interesting argument when punk goes mainstream. And I'm not saying they went mainstream, they didn't go totally mainstream, but you sign to something as big as Warner or a Warner subsidiary, you are effectively going mainstream. If you're on the Conan show or whatever, that's effectively mainstream.
Oh yeah, I mean, that was when they did sign to a major label and they did do New Wave, that was very much part of the goal.
When you realise you're really good at something, the temptation is, and these guys are really good at something, it's when you realise that suddenly you're presented with a temptation that you never really thought you maybe would have when you defined yourself as an anarchist. You're like, I'm never going to get that opportunity, so really calling myself this isn't a big sacrifice. And then suddenly you're like, oh shit, I could be quite well off or quite well recognised within this field. Do I still want to sacrifice that? And that's a big challenge. It's just interesting. That's all I'm saying. And it's the inherent challenge of successful, well-made punk music is that it gets co-opted, and it's interesting to see how different people deal with it. I think I'm not making a value judgment on that. I just think it's an interesting phenomenon.
I just think like the whole narrative of the band, like entirely, has been super interesting. Not least because of the stuff I guess there's a reason why the book is called Tranny, the world's most infamous like anarchist sellout. I think she's completely aware of the fact of all the stuff that's happened in that regard. And there's a song on White Crosses called I Was a Teenage Anarchist, and it talks explicitly about how none of it was ever good enough.
Revolution. So you remember when you were young and you wanted to set the world on fire.
You could be the most ardent anarchist, but it still was never enough for some people.
That's absolutely, it's the same as straight edge. It's the reason that Ian Mackay had hot coffee thrown on him, and it's the reason that Ray Cappo had wine thrown over him while he was on a tour of Italy. It's when you align. In fact, Ian Mackay didn't even align with straight edge, but there is always somebody that has a hardier definition of it, and there's always someone ready to judge. But there is, when you endorse those systems, you are in some way laying the groundwork for that, and that's partly why sometimes it can be so fraught with problems from the start. There's no doubting how talented she was, and there's no doubting that they were going to get opportunities given their knack for this kind of music. Yeah, there was almost inevitable that they were going to encounter these problems at some point, and certainly making the decision to sign to Warner is only going to exacerbate them.
I feel as though I'm unfairly maligned in these past few weeks.
On the cash calls?
Yeah, but the fact is, when we started doing this podcast, we had some really good gear on loan, and we no longer have good gear on loan, so we're just cobbling shit together. I mean,
because we burned our bridges pretty quickly into the run of shows.
Yeah, we did. There's an Idlewild one, was just didn't pan out for anybody really. So yeah,
Glasgow's a small city, and the word got out that we'd
talked down our fabulous choked up boys. Yeah, so Chris MacGyvered a headphone amp by taping it to a sofa. So I think
phlegm, sellotape, some straw, and some elbow grease.
I think that tells you everything you need to know about why you should give us some money because we really need to buy some stuff. So please do that. You can go to www.unsungpod.net/donate and just donate generously. Imagine if you were like Comic Relief but we weren't kids.
We should probably point out that if you donate, it's not just a one-way street. You will get extra material that only very special people get.
I feel as though that's something we should have pointed out in every other one of these we've done, but we've not.
Wait a minute.
I think we've missed the point here.
This may be consistent with our failure at marketing generally.
Yeah, so donate so we can get good gear and you can get cool stuff. Like you might have seen a wee while ago, we did a new metal mixtape. We're going to do more of that kind of thing in future as well as interviews and stuff.
Some of them will be serious and journalistic. Some of them will just be hilarious.
Exactly. But that's cool stuff that you get for free if you give us some money, so please do that. Thank you.
It's cool stuff that you get for free if you give us some money.
You do? You get it for free if you give us some money? Before they signed to Sire, they actually took on Latiga's manager, and then he was kind of responsible for helping getting through that process of signing to Sire, and they offered them, I think, $1.5 million to sign, and then she went away and she wrote the record herself. Well, she was on tour with Alkaline Trio mostly, which was a whole disastrous thing, which is really interesting to read about, but I won't go into. It's really, a really interesting point was made actually. Like one of her friends says to her, major labels are only looking for bands that can sell that first 100,000 records, because then they know that they can make you sell 250,000, which turned out to not be the case.
Was New Wave the album that came out on Sire? Which
is a great record, and it's got probably one of the most important songs in the Against Me canon as well in it, the Ocean. Just got the line in it, you know, if I was born a woman, Molly would call me Laura.
Produced by Butch Vig, that album as well.
Yeah, both of the major label albums were. So the second one after that, they did White Crosses, and that was a concerted attempt to actually become that big rock band. And Butch Vig kind of actively pushed them to do that because that's what Laura wanted to do. And the singles on that are, well, most of the songs aren't really good, but the singles on it are fucking amazing. Like they're proper big, like punk, like rock, hard rock songs, you know, and they still stand up really well today.
Noticed there was 2009 Warren Oaks quit to run a Mexican restaurant.
Yeah,
I mean, I have time for that.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
Yeah.
I love a burrito.
Fucking would love to run a Mexican restaurant.
Yeah. So in terms of this record, musically, why do you think it stands out?
It feels the most cohesive they've done probably since, but the second most cohesive now. But if you look at their early records up until Transgender Dysphoria Blues, for me it's the most cohesive record. It sounds like a band trying to be a band. Now you could argue that there are probably songs on it that could come off it, you know. Even at our best we're still better than most, which is alright. It's not, doesn't even feel like a fully realised idea for a song, but I like it.
It's 14 tracks and 47 minutes.
Yeah, it's the longest record by a long way.
It's long for a punk record.
Yeah, even by her own admission, she says there's probably a lot of fat in that. It could have been trimmed, but again, it comes back to that time thing. 3 months to write a record and then record a record in a studio is not a long time.
3 months?
Yeah, if you've just come off the road and you've
3 months is the period that Cavan had to record Antenna, and they felt it was too much.
Or write it and record it, so write it, demo it, then record it.
They did Jupiter in 4 days.
Yeah. I mean, they did a lot of records, like they did the Eternal Cowboy in like a week, you know.
But fundamentally though, this is an underrated record in that sense, especially in the opinion of Fat Mike. But or based on the opinion of Fat Mike. But I noticed that New Wave was like Spin's album of the year.
Yeah.
You know, which is like no small feat when you consider that Spin's a pretty broad net, you know, that's cast there, and it's like, so I mean, they're a band that's received praise in a lot of circles. So you feel that this album though, more than any others, merits that extra bit of investment.
See, I don't know if I would say more than any others, because Transgender Dysphoria Blues is probably their best album. It's the most concise. It's the most vibrant. It's got probably the best songs on it, but we're looking at Unsung, and for me, this is my favourite because it has a lot of swipes at the music industry, which I find really fascinating given the position they were in. You know,
Given that they
and
then later
yeah,
joined it.
exactly. So even in hindsight, it's good. It's also got the song "Searching for Former Clarity," which has, you know, another important line and another important sort of song in the Against Me or sort of Laura Jane Grey sort of gender dysphoria journey that she's been on for her entire life. She'd been dressing up women's clothing and all that, and wearing wigs and going on what she called gender benders, like for years and years and years and years. And she wrote about it in her journals, you know what I mean? And it was a part that she always kept hidden, but she occasionally would drop hints of it in songs. So there's a song called "The Disco Before the Beatdown." Which is like the first proper band EP. Which was before Inventing Axl Rose, which has got a reference on it. A couple of references to, you know, gender dysphoria on it, and then Searching for Former Clarity, the song itself, confessing childhood secrets of dressing up women's clothes.
Confessing childhood secrets of dressing up in women's clothes. Compulsions you never knew. The reasons.
She said it was really interesting when they finished the record and they played it in the studio, because it was like it ends, that's the last song of the record, and it's a really slow, kind of quite a heavy lyrically song, and she was like, nobody in the band had even said anything about it or even looked at her or anything like that. She said she found that was a bit weird.
Mm-hmm.
That whole period is really interesting as well, because our bass player was Warren, Andrew Seward, like he's a pure manly man, and they go to the gym together and all that, and he felt as though she was just performing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's another reason why the whole Sire thing was really, really difficult, because then she was in such public spotlight, you know, and she felt as though she was actually performing.
Another band that toured the Foo Fighters,
you know, yeah.
Foo Fighters are on every episode of this damn podcast now, but like they're another band that toured the Foo Fighters.
Yeah.
They are the glue.
It seems to be like the really stinky glue.
Yeah. But I mean, it was the whole new wave thing, and like apparently the recording process was great, but the actual touring was horrible because she felt so she had to perform a gender which she wasn't.
To be fair, they've had some pretty bad touring experiences in the
Some
past.
very
man.
bad
They're
touring
a band that are
experiences,
prone to the odd traffic accident. It was like 2001, man. Their entire van was written off and all their gear.
Mm-hmm.
And again in 2008, something like that, 2009. Maybe?
Yeah, broke into and stuff like that as well over the course of the career and stuff, you know. So it's been really
Man, I've
interesting.
had some pretty hairy touring experiences written off. I suppose you spend that many hours on the road, that happens. I mean, obviously it's a band that's inescapable that Laura Jane Grace forms a big part of the conversation around the band, and it's so much of it is about her. It started as a solo project. It's imbued with so many aspects of her struggles with her identity and with her reflections on that, and I'd imagine with her reactions and the reactions of the world to her since 2012.
It's just really
it's fascinating in
interesting,
that sense. It's fascinating as well that she has a daughter.
Yeah.
And
Married twice.
Yeah, and there's so many interesting insights to glean from that. So it's not easy. Sorry, it's not hard to understand why people would find the material so rich in that sense.
I think it's like another reason why I like this record so much is because that drive that she had to actually try and write it as a collaborative thing is something that she hadn't really done afterwards until the last record, Shapeshift With Me, which was definitely designed to be much more collaborative than it is. I think all of them, I think they all play guitar at some point in that record, all four of them. And for what it's worth, the version of Against Me,
just a wall of guitars. There's four people playing harmonised guitars at one time.
But
Iron Maiden. That's great.
Why not? The Pantomime Band.
And for what it's worth, I would say that the version of Against Me that exists just now is the best version of the band musically that's ever been, the best incarnation. It's getting from International Noise Conspiracy and bass,
Refused,
and Atom Willard from Atom Willard,
Inge Johansson,
and he's actually got a really great backing vocal on one of the songs on Future for Me. It's really quite funny, but yeah, it's a pretty cool thing. But
nice to see you so enthused. It really is. You're positively glowing.
I love this record, man.
I can tell.
Miami is a
This
great...
is literally more words than you've spoken in the entire
Ever,
history of the podcast put together.
Ever. Miami is a good opener. The only song is Still Play Alive. Also the song they spent the most work on apparently in the studio. Got that weird brass bit towards the end as well, which I think is pretty cool.
Mistakes are obvious. The vaults are glaring. The blame plane is on fire. The fucking ship is sinking and it swept away out a hurricane. I'm buried in the rubble of an earthquake.
Mediocrity Gets You Pairs, I really love that too.
Given that
Justin had a nice sort of change of pace.
Yeah.
And
Unprotected Sex
energy
Multiple
to it.
Partners is phenomenal, I think.
Just how fucked I'm getting gets. Just how much can we bleed? We're completely irrelevant.
Which is all about courting major labels, so it's kind of...
I thought, like, as punk goes, I'm not hugely into that vocal take on it, but, you know, horses for courses.
Her voice was fucked on this record. She went to record and it was just really, really difficult to do it. And J. Robbins actually told her, like, you've got to go to the
It's
fucking
like
doctor.
Social
Like,
distortion, kind of
yeah.
like,
like, you've got to go to see a doctor because there's definitely some issues with your voice here.
J.
But
Robbins,
she
though,
did it as well, yeah.
That's a good producer, like,
Yeah.
Love J. Robbins.
I think this record sounds really good. I like the sound of this record.
Everything J. Robbins does sounds really good.
It's really raw and it's not compressed like we spoke about on previous episode. It's not super compressed.
yeah,
It breathed quite
it's
a
got
lot.
a nice energy to it.
Mhm.
Fuck's Fat Mike's problem.
I don't know, but
Apart from the fact that
I-
people call him Fat Mike,
I know.
that would really eventually start like.
I went into this record thinking I probably wasn't going to like it because they're a band that have been around me,
Not against me.
not against me, but I've been around, you know, I've had pals that have been really into them, and normally I'd sort of absorb that somehow, and I'd never have. So I was like, right, I'm actually going to properly listen to this and understand why. And yeah, I just think it made me just think more that maybe I just don't get punk overall. You know, maybe I've been, you know, this alternative into heavy music all my life, so I think I should like punk, but maybe I actually don't like punk, so I just don't get it.
Well, it's interesting because Against Me are kind of on the crossover between punk and folk and country. They always kind of have
Yeah,
been,
and
you know.
to me, those three genres definitely have good bits. I do like some punk, and I do like some interesting folk, and I do like some like really nice country music as well.
Mhm.
But I think maybe the worst three parts have been taken here. Not the worst three, just the parts that I don't get. Like I just don't get folk punk at all. And this was way more sort of rockabilly than I thought it would be. It was way more like, I had like bits of Dropkick Murphys in it and stuff like that. And that to me, I don't know, I don't understand it. There's something about punk and maybe this record that they choose easy chords.
Yeah, I mean,
and like there's like maybe I just only like miserable music or something like that.
Well,
And when they do, you know, major chords, I just don't get it.
it's a genre that loves convention. I mean, we've spoken about that before, and
Yeah.
it is a genre that adores right to a formula well. It's like cooking a simple dish well. It's like, this is what I want it done well. And I think these records, like a number of their records, are punk done really well. I'm kind of with you in the sense that I don't personally get a lot out of listening to them because of their take on it, but at the same time, kind of putting my objective hat on, I'm like, but it is done really well.
Yeah, it is. I can totally tell.
Yeah.
And they've got a really interesting energy. They're obviously, you know, a talented band. It's just like, for me, I was listening to it and I was like, it sounds like, just in terms of like the actual audio of it, sounds like Fugazi, but with all the interesting bits taken out. And I was like, oh no, yeah, no, it's doing exactly what I think it's going to do, rather than something that I'm not expecting, which is kind of, I don't know.
well, I enjoy simplicity, simple stuff done well, and this
Yeah.
they do it very well. And I think she's got a really interesting way with lyrics and melody.
The lyrics are interesting, and I do think the melodies are interesting, but there's just something about it that's not for me. I don't know why. Just didn't click at all.
I think if you wanted to give something else another go, I'd probably give Transgender Dysphoria Blues a go, because it is probably it is probably some of their definitely some of their best songs actually. Like most of the songs on it are amazing. It's only 20 minutes long as well. It's like way shorter than this. Only 10 songs on it, and it's just banger after banger for me anyway. I think the fans would probably say that Reinventing Axl Rose is probably the one that would go in or should be up for discussion. But for me, that record never really clicked properly with me. I think there's too much on it, which is just kind of
Seems like
Yeah,
there's a chance that this
you
might
know.
not get in based on the fact that people will disagree too much with the choice of the record as opposed to the record itself not being of a high standard.
I think so.
So you've taken that gamble, you realise.
No, I knew it when I went for it, because not many people are going to go with the major label records, despite the fact they're some of the best songs she's ever written are on New Wave, and certainly all the singles on White Crosses I think are amongst the best punk songs I've heard in I think my whole life.
Well, folk are going to have to go over that when I pick Stranger Than Fiction by Bad Religion.
Exactly. Which is an interesting record.
Yeah, I mean,
we'll get to that, but
yeah, it'll be really. This will be one that I'm interested to see how people react to it with more awareness of the band themselves. Like, I think it's a well done record that leaves me a little cold based on taste, but I'm more curious to see how people feel it sits amidst their canon. Based, because Mark, you're saying yourself, you've taken a gamble on this one, thinking it could be a controversial choice. That'll be interesting.
I like the sort of underdog vibe that you've given it. I think you've sold it well on that.
Very punk of you.
Case.
I genuinely think it's the best record, most consistent record apart from Transcenden's Dysphoria Blues. But
I'd also seen him this fucking pumped about a record makes me
like pumped.
I'm like,
but nervous.
Yeah,
because I think he's going to take this one hard.
No, like if it doesn't go in, I'm totally cool with it, because there are any of the records could go in really, in my opinion, including White Crosses, which I like, just not as much as the others. And Shapeshift for me, the latest record, Shapeshift with me, the latest record, is perhaps, it sounds like a band are going a different direction. There's a lot of really weird things going on in it, kind of messing about the punk conventions they'd kind of leaned on for a long time. There's some surfy things on it, there's some kind of proper rockabilly things on it, there's loads of different interesting production textures and vibes on it. It's maybe their best produced record, actually, aside from this.
So let's throw it to the mob and see what the mob makes of it.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see what people say.
That's the whole point.
Because there's good songs throughout their entire catalogue, and you could pick any record, I think, based on that alone. But for me, this feels like a band. The first two records don't really feel that cohesive in this same way. Yeah, there's a lot of effort in this. Yeah, there's some songs which could probably get cut out. Even those have got a bit of charm, even though the songs which could get trimmed feel a bit unrealised. I like that about it. I think it's pretty punk. You've put all your money in black and you've went to see what happens. And I know that Laura doesn't like this record. She said so herself.
Jesus, nobody likes this record.
Yeah, like that's the thing. Like
she doesn't like it. Fat Mike doesn't like it. The fans aren't sure about it. Dave isn't sure about it. I'm on the fence.
I know a lot of Against Me fans that love this record, right? So I'm hopefully they'll vote with me. But
you're gonna have to phone them.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to fucking get on a phone, man. Send them a fucking carrier pigeon or something. Get Venetian Snare to send them a carrier pigeon.
Like, stick it in the ballot and let's just plug the grunge thing.
But no, I have enjoyed your rooting for it.
If people don't vote for it,
I've just enjoyed the sound of his voice.
It's been lovely. It's been.
If people don't vote for it, that's cool. I totally get it, but
you don't mean that.
I think you're overlooking it if you're not, because I think this is, you get deep into it, I think this is the most spirited, even though it's really depressing and quite like low key in a lot of places. I think this is the most spirited record they've done. And I know that Laura Jane Gray says it as well, and that's no reason not to like it. I don't know, I just dig it, man. I really dig it. I'm going with the underdog here. I think you should vote for it. So I'll put it out to you guys. Let us know what you think. I know that Chris and Dave are on the fence.
That's fine.
Nice diplomatic answer there, Dave.
So
great.
Where do people go to vote, Mark?
You just go to our Facebook page and vote. You can do it there.
What else do they do on there, Mark?
You can also drop us a rating and review.
Where else can they do that, Mark?
On iTunes, which is great.
What else can they do on iTunes?
Listen. God damn it, just listen to the podcast.
And tell your
friends about it. Yeah. We have an exciting opportunity for those who like the podcast coming up very, very soon.
Yeah, just following on from our incredibly exciting announcement 2 weeks ago, can we just reiterate that on the 27th of May in Glasgow at the Flying Duck at 2 p.m, it's a Sunday, you'll have time to go to church or whatever you do, throw eggs at church.
Not a hangover.
We will be appearing in the flesh to execute the Unsung podcast live grunge mixtape. David, can you name some grunge bands that will appear in that?
Theory of a Dead Man.
Like where you're going.
Bush may turn up.
And Live.
Wow.
And
Live?
Everclear.
Skimming right off the top here, aren't we?
And Stone Temple Pilots.
Some folk would take issue that you put them with the other ones.
No, I'm just literally naming all
riffing.
All the grunge bands that you know.
Yeah,
Mark,
exactly.
do you know any grunge bands? Like literally, Mark, do you know any grunge bands?
I do. I know some grunge bands. Mudhoney will probably turn up.
The only guy sitting here in a check shirt is the guy that definitely knows the least grunge bands.
Yeah, I know Nirvana and Soundgarden.
Who?
and Alice in Chains,
No,
Stone Temple Pilots, and Pearl Jam.
not ringing a bell.
Nah, don't like.
I did listen to Houdini by Melvins recently, and it's fucking tremendous.
It's a really good album.
Fantastic. That paid
Very
off.
good. It's very good. It sounds mental.
My
Great.
grunge missives of.
But there's a better
was.
record which I'm going to pick. So
Great.
Excellent. Okay, good. Well, we're
We'll
going to
see
do
you
that.
then.
There's going to be a little live musical interlude, and everything will be very fun and chaotic because it's live, and there'll be seats.
and maybe some
there's a-
pictures, maybe some images, maybe some images.
Yep, we might do something like that. There's a bar if you really need that to get through it.
We might need it.
Yeah, it's £2 a ticket. If you go on our website, there is a page set up,
Events.
unsungpod.net/events. And that will walk you through the process of how you buy a ticket and then go to a show.
So, guys, what is our album next week?
On the next episode, we're talking about Never Better by POS.
Great.
Homework.
Going to be good fun. Gentlemen, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Let this be the last song. Let this be the end. Let all be forgiven.